My husband wasn't just bankrupt, he was cheating, the cheap, sordid kind. I'd had enough. When Leo came home, covered in dust and exhaustion from another long day at the construction site, I didn't waste a second. My voice came out cool and precise. I want a divorce.
For a moment, he just stared at me.
Then the weariness in his face hardened into something calm, distant. All right, he said evenly. I'll take half a day off tomorrow. We can go sign the papers. And then, out of nowhere, a strange, childish voice echoed in my head. Oh, clueless mom. Dad didn't cheat. He's about to turn everything around. This is all a trap from that transmigrator. She wants you to divorce him, so she can swoop in. After that, you'll lose your savings, your reputation, and die miserably in the street. Meanwhile, she'll marry Dad, help him rise again, and live happily ever after as Mrs. Archer. I've waited decades for a chance to be born and fought my way through the heavens to be here. Mom, please get it together. The voice faded, and my heart lurched violently. Tears burst from my eyes before I could stop them. You don't love me at all, I shouted, voice trembling. Ask for a divorce and you just agree? You don't even try to stop me? You heartless man. Leo blinked, clearly blindsided by my sudden emotional whiplash. After a long pause, he sighed. Don't worry. You can keep whatever's left of our savings. I'll deal with my debts on my own. That calm, reasonable tone made me want to scream. I wiped my dry eyes and snapped. The only reason I want a divorce is because you cheated. His expression didn't change, but his eyes looked heavier somehow. If you want to leave, then leave, he said quietly. You don't need to invent reasons to make yourself feel better. Panic knotted in my stomach. No, no, no. If I didn't fix this right now, I'd ruin everything. This could affect how much money he'd give me once his so-called comeback happened. I have proof. I cried, fumbling for my phone. Someone sent me a video of you at one of those sleazy massage parlors. But when I opened my messages, the video was gone. The entire chat had disappeared.
What?
No, it was right here. I looked up at him, flustered. I swear, Leo, I saw it. Someone sent it to me. He just frowned faintly, saying nothing, which only made me spiral further. I don't care if you believe me, I huffed, crossing my arms. But I'm not getting a divorce. Not now, anyway. Not until after his miraculous rise to fortune. Leo's face remained impassive.
Fine.
Whatever you want, he said, heading toward the bathroom. Let me know when you change your mind again. I stomped my foot, furious at how calm he was being. Inside me, the baby seemed to kick in protest. Great going, Mom, came the tiny, exasperated voice again. That line probably froze Dad's heart solid. But don't worry, he's loyal. As long as you cling to him shamelessly, he'll never force a divorce. The real danger is that transmigrator. She won't stop stirring up trouble. That witch. Transmigrator? I thought in confusion. Who on earth is that? But before I could ask, the voice gave a tiny yawn. So sleepy, talk later, Mom. And just like that, the presence in my head vanished. Meeting Leo felt like something out of a movie. A very strange, slightly twisted movie. He ran his own small business and had clawed his way up from nothing, while I was just a normal girl punching the clock every day. One night, I was drowning my heartbreak after my college boyfriend left me for some trust fund brat. I was drunk, reckless, and wandering the streets. By coincidence, or fate, Leo had just escaped a business dinner where someone had spiked his drink. We collided on the sidewalk, two desperate souls in the wrong place at the wrong time. The next morning, he said he needed to take responsibility. He was tall, handsome, surprisingly well off, and I was his first.
What reason did I have to say no?
By noon, we were at the courthouse. Leo was quiet and always busy with work, so the fiery, all-consuming love I'd imagined never bloomed. But he was generous and money spoke a language I understood. I didn't care much for the romance part. Then the market crashed. His company collapsed, leaving him drowning in debt. Still, he shielded me from the worst, never letting me go without. Coupled with the fact that he was still ridiculously attractive, I'd never seriously thought about leaving, until this afternoon, when that mysterious video arrived. That was what had made me demand a divorce. And as for the little life inside me, I hadn't even known he existed until I heard his tiny, mental whispers. Maybe Leo still wanted a child after all. That thought warmed me, just a little. Leo was quick in the shower, emerging in under 10 minutes, a single towel wrapped around him. Water glistened on his bronze skin, muscles defined, and for a brief second, I forgot the tiny passenger in my belly. My mouth went dry, but reality hit me, and the heat fizzled. "Pasta okay for dinner?" I asked, mood sour. "Too tired to cook." "I'll make it," he said, his tone neutral, almost icy. He went into the bedroom to change, without even glancing at me. I could tell he was still brooding over my divorce threat. I thought about the baby and felt a wave of self-pity, my eyes prickling with unshed tears. By the time he came out, he headed straight for the kitchen without a word. My pride stung, so I decided to sneak out for pregnancy tests first rather than announce anything yet. When I returned, Leo sat on our worn sofa, lost in thought. He glanced at me briefly, a flicker of hope passing through his eyes before it dulled again. "The pasta's ready," he said softly. I looked at the bowls, then at him, and my appetite vanished. "I'm not hungry. You eat." Clutching the small bag of tests, I slipped into the bathroom. As expected, the lines stayed single. Too soon to tell. Even a blood test wouldn't show anything yet. I'd have to wait a few more days before telling him. When I emerged, Leo still sat there, a cloud of gloom hanging over him. I sat at the other end of the sofa, and silence settled. We both came from broken families, which pushed us into a rushed marriage. In the past 2 years, he'd spent most of his time on the road. We barely had a chance to connect outside of intimacy, and even then, it was more about comfort than conversation. I didn't know how to help him. I wasn't the motivational type. All I could do was stay out of his way. Tonight, though, I felt unusually fragile. Tears slipped down my cheeks silently. Leo glanced at me once, then quickly looked away. "With my situation, it might stay like this forever," he said tiredly. "Leaving me might be the right choice. Don't feel guilty. I won't blame you." My chest tightened at his words. I couldn't stand it anymore. I got up and retreated to the bedroom, letting my grief pour out into the pillow. A few minutes of silence passed, then the faint sound of movement. Soon after, the front door clicked closed. My heart plummeted. He's leaving me, I thought. Before despair could swallow me whole, the bedroom door opened. Leo stood there, pinching his nose, a container of takeout ramen in hand. The savory aroma filled the room. "Eat something," he said gently. "Don't starve yourself." I blinked, stunned. Slowly, I wiped my tear-streaked face and whispered, "Thanks." "You're welcome." That was us, so formal, so careful, like strangers sharing a home. Leo never went to college. He'd been working since high school, and after his logistics company went under, he returned to his old life, long days on construction sites. I tried to find a job 3 times, but each attempt ended the same way, unwanted attention from lecherous coworkers. Eventually, Leo told me to stay home and focus on myself. So I spent my days doing chores and filming faceless-style transformation videos for social media. Slowly, I built a small following and earned a little pocket money selling clothes through affiliate links. That evening, I ate my ramen in the living room, tears dripping onto the takeout container. Leo quietly cleaned up around the apartment, laundry, dishes, tidying, until he came over holding a small suitcase. "My boss called," he said. "They want me to manage a project out of town. I'll be gone a few days. Be careful while you're alone." The thought of him leaving jolted me with panic. How many days is a few? A week if it goes fast. 2 at most. "Oh, try to come back sooner." He hesitated. "About the divorce, think it over carefully. Whatever you decide, I'll accept it. No hard feelings." Hearing the word divorce made my teeth ache. I said it in anger. "Don't read too much into it," I muttered. He wanted to say more, but only sighed.
Take care. Call me if you need anything.
After Leo left, a part of me went with him. I was on edge every day. The baby's inner voice appeared twice more, and to my surprise, he could hear me. I asked about the mysterious transmigrator. The little one explained she had died young in a previous timeline and didn't know much, only that my fate and his father's future had been overheard from other souls, waiting to be reborn. Her identity remained a mystery. Leo texted occasionally, no sweet talk, just simple check-ins. It was enough to know he thought of me. Then, the day before his return, his messages stopped after 3 in the afternoon. I assumed he was busy or just relaxing before heading home, but by 10 at night, there was still no sign of him. I sent a text, no reply. I called, and when he answered, his voice was cold. "What's up? When are you coming home? I need to tell you something." A long pause. "I'll be back in an hour." Relief washed over me. It was better to talk in person. Okay, I'll wait. Leo arrived exactly an hour later, but his mood was icy, radiating tension that had nothing to do with the night air. I debated whether it was the right time to tell him about the baby, but he beat me to it. Let's file for divorce Monday. I just got a $3,000 bonus. You can have that, plus the rest of our savings. He placed a thick envelope on the table. I froze. We'd agreed not to divorce. Why the sudden change? Tears pricked my eyes. What are you talking about?
He looked away.
I know things have been hard since I lost everything.
This is all I can offer right now.
If things improve later, I'll give you more. The dam broke. Tears streamed down my face, my mind blank. The baby kicked loudly, as if protesting the chaos. It's okay, Mom. We can still take him for child support once Dad is rich again. We'll live in style, no one bossing you around. It'll be perfect. He had a point. Maybe I shouldn't burn the bridge completely. I'll only take half the money, I said finally. His voice was firm. You don't need to leave any for me. Rent's paid for 5 months. Stay here. I'll move out. Fine, whatever. I stormed into the bedroom, burying my face in pillows, letting soft, choked sobs escape. Leo packed his things quietly. I listened to every step, the final click of the front door piercing my heart. Once he was gone, the tears came freely. Exhaustion finally pulled me into a restless sleep. When I woke, I felt awful, feverish, achy, fragile. Cold medicine and fever reducers sat unused. I worried about the baby. I knew if I could push through the first 3 days, it would get better. But those days were agony. In my fevered haze, I remembered how Leo had cared for me silently, meticulously, whenever I'd been sick before. The memory made the emptiness hurt even more. At my lowest point, I called him. The phone rang and rang before a soft, feminine voice answered. Hi, Leo's drunk right now. Can he call you back later? Never mind, I snapped, hanging up. I collapsed back onto the bed, crying myself to sleep. Between waking and sleep, I felt a cool cloth on my forehead. I opened my eyes and thought I saw Leo's face in the dim light. Maybe I was hallucinating, babbling to him, sometimes pleading, sometimes cursing him. Finally, the ache subsided. I sank into deep, dreamless sleep. I slept deeply and woke naturally, sunlight spilling across the room. When I opened my eyes, a figure was sitting beside the bed.
Leo.
The sight jolted me fully awake. I sat up abruptly, my body tense. For a few seconds, silence filled the space between us, thick and uneasy, until he finally spoke. Is it mine? My stomach dropped. He was holding something small and familiar, the pregnancy test I'd tossed in the trash 3 days ago. My voice came out sharp, almost a snarl. What's that supposed to mean? You think I cheated? I was ready to unleash hell, but then I saw his eyes. Red, swollen, tired. The fury drained out of me, leaving only exhaustion and the urge to cry. What does it matter? I choked out bitterly. We're getting divorced anyway. Whether the baby's yours or not is none of your business. I'll decide what happens to it. A twisted thought crept into my head. Maybe I'd keep this child and raise it proudly, just to shove the truth in his face, and in that so-called transmigrators too. Let them both live with it. Leo's jaw tightened. Someone sent me a video. It was from an unknown number. It showed you and your ex at a hotel. I froze, my mind blank for a second. Then fury roared to life. That's impossible. I haven't even left this apartment in a week. Even my groceries get delivered. He studied my face, searching for cracks. The footage wasn't fake. It was you. Unless you've got a twin running around. I'm telling you, that's impossible. I shouted.
Wait.
Something about this felt eerily familiar. Show me the video, I demanded, snatching his phone. I knew his passcode, but fumbling through his messages only made me more frustrated, so I handed it back. You do it. He scrolled through his texts. His brows drew together. It's gone. I let out a humorless laugh and threw myself back on the bed. Fine. If you think I cheated, then I cheated. We'll file the divorce papers tomorrow. Whoever doesn't show up is the coward. 10 seconds passed in silence. Then I felt his arms wrap around me, warm and steady. I'm sorry, he whispered into my hair. I shouldn't have doubted you. This is on me. I had been faking tears, but his voice cracked something open inside me. The dam broke, and this time, I cried for real. I got a video too, I sobbed. Someone sent me one of you at a massage parlor. I deleted it, but when you said it wasn't true, I believed you. Leo's voice was rough. Then believe me too.
Please.
We can't go on like this. He pressed his forehead against mine, his tone softening. I don't want a divorce. I'm the coward here. Don't cry, baby. Please. Baby? He'd never called me that before. Somehow, that single word shattered me more than anything else. By the time my tears finally stopped, exhaustion had settled deep in my bones. Then it hit me. I hadn't showered in days. I probably stink, I muttered, pushing him away. I need to clean up. You should change the sheets. Okay, he said quietly. When I tried to stand, my knees buckled. Leo caught me before I could fall. I made soup, he murmured.
Chicken and rice.
Eat first, then shower. I nodded weakly. After I ate, my body felt steadier, though my heart still wavered somewhere between confusion and warmth. When I came out of the bathroom, he'd already changed the sheets. I climbed into the clean bed, the scent of detergent oddly comforting. From across the room, I watched him mop the floor, sleeves rolled up, face calm and focused. It was strange. Our marriage had always been more about coexistence than connection. But now, something fragile and new hung in the air. A quiet tenderness. Was this love? The thought made me blush. I pulled the blanket up to my face. Leo noticed me watching and walked over, pressing his hand to my forehead. You don't have a fever, do you? I'm fine, I said quickly. But those 2 videos. What do you think that was? He frowned thoughtfully. Someone's trying to drive a wedge between us. I don't know why, but now that we know, we have to handle things differently. No more believing random messages. If anything happens, we talk it out. Face to face. He met my eyes. We need to trust each other. I nodded a little too fast. Yeah, I agree. But deep down, I knew trust wouldn't come easy. Not after everything. Still, as I watched him tidy up our little apartment, I felt something quiet but real, a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, we could start over. I was just drifting off when the mattress shifted beside me. A warm, hesitant hand rested on my lower belly. My body tensed briefly, then relaxed. The more he cared about this baby, the better it was for me. You should book a checkup for Saturday. First appointment, he murmured. Okay. Cravings? No, not really. I still had little appetite and the baby was tiny, just a cluster of cells. If you think of anything, let me know. I'll make it when I get home. He stayed with his hand on my stomach for a while longer. When he finally withdrew, a pang of disappointment lingered. His touch had been warm, reassuring, more comforting than I expected. Then he wrapped his arm around me, pulling me close to his chest. A thrill ran through me. I turned into him, nestling against his side. He stiffened for a second, then relaxed, holding me tighter. This was new. Even when we shared a bed before, a clear line existed between us, except when intimacy broke it. Listening to his steady heartbeat, I felt a peace I'd never known. Mia, he whispered. Nothing more. He leaned down and kissed me. I didn't pull away. But just as things were heating up, he stopped, voice heavy with playful despair. So, I guess I'm out of commission for a while. I blinked. His blunt honesty made me chuckle despite the awkwardness. I pinched him sharply. Be civilized. He laughed softly.
Fine.
No main event, a year goes by fast. And there's always. I clapped my hand over his mouth. Civilized language, only. A child's education starts in the womb. He laughed again, a low, warm sound, then kissed my hand. Yes, ma'am. The brief happiness was interrupted by another worry. Who was that girl on your phone yesterday? I muttered into his chest. Leo stiffened. Did you call me yesterday? I hesitated. I thought I did. He paused. Yesterday, I had dinner with a supplier, the crew chief, and an intern. I drank too much and passed out at the table. Oh, I only called because today was courthouse day. You didn't answer, so I came to check. He grabbed his phone, scrolling. No record of your call.
I wasn't surprised.
It had to be the transmigrator at work. Was there a woman at dinner? I asked. He thought a moment. The intern, yes, a girl. Daughter of my boss's friend. I've been showing her the ropes. She's sweet, innocent, has a boyfriend, and left early yesterday. It wasn't anything. I'll be careful around her. I frowned, but he kissed my forehead. I haven't handled this well.
Give me time.
I'll figure it out. I knew it wasn't his fault. If this transmigrator had some supernatural system, she could probably manipulate things invisibly. Hesitant, I asked, "Do you believe in transmigration? Rebirth?" He chuckled, indulgent. "Novels are fun, Mia. But we only get one life. Make it count." Of course, he wouldn't believe me. Still, if the transmigrator had to hire people to lure me, her powers were probably limited. I just had to stay careful. Why was she so obsessed with Leo, a married man barely scraping by? Could he be some key figure in this world? Leo woke early, slipping out quietly. Before leaving, he kissed my forehead. I slept for another 2 hours, feeling slightly better, then went to the kitchen. A small clay pot of congee simmered on the stove. A note was stuck to the handle. Pregnant women shouldn't eat too many preserved eggs.
Hope this is okay.
Morning sickness lingered. I only managed half a bowl before nausea forced me to stop. He texted whenever he could. By evening, he returned with groceries and cooked dinner, healthy, simple dishes. I barely touched my food, still queasy. "Not hungry?" he asked, brow furrowed. I nodded sheepishly.
Yeah.
"What would you like? I can make it." I shook my head. Nothing, except maybe something sour and spicy. Spicy and sour potato slivers?
Yes.
And plain white rice porridge. He stir-fried a generous plate, and I nearly finished it all. After the last bite, I let out a satisfied burp. "Was it good?" "Delicious," I said, beaming. "Want me to make it for breakfast tomorrow?" "Yes, please." The next morning, Leo left early again, but he prepared a fresh pot of porridge and another plate of those spicy potatoes for me. My cold had mostly cleared, and feeling guilty for being pampered, I decided to head to the market myself. I bought more than I could comfortably carry, and the bags were heavy. Just as I was about to climb the stairs to our apartment, the weight in my arms suddenly eased. I turned and froze. A tall, handsome young man was standing there, smiling. "Here, let me help you with that," he said. Before I could respond, my son's voice screamed inside my head. "Mom, that's him. That's the one who scams you and leaves us to die. The bad guy." I forced a cautious expression, masking my tension. "Thanks, but I've got it." He laughed lightly and dropped his hands. "All right then." I started up the stairs, and he followed a few steps behind. I glanced back at him. He raised his hands in a gesture of innocence. "I just moved in here yesterday." "Oh," I murmured, thinking I'd heard some noises from next door but hadn't paid much attention. When we reached the 4th floor, we stopped at the same moment. "What a coincidence," he said, feigning surprise. "I live here too." I nodded politely. "Yes, what a coincidence."
Goodbye.
"See you around," he replied, and I rushed inside. Once inside, I collapsed on the sofa, trembling. Even though I hadn't lived the future my son described, the thought of it chilled me. Leo and I had agreed to handle serious matters face-to-face, so I had to wait until he came home.
The rest of the day dragged by.
When he finally walked in, I immediately told him about the neighbor and his attempts to chat me up. Leo frowned, thinking hard, then his expression turned grim. "We should move," he said. I shook my head. "If he's really out to hurt us, he'll find us wherever we go." His frown deepened. "You're right. Moving won't help. Just play along for now. I'll have someone look into him." "But won't investigating him alert them?" I asked. "I'll be careful. Stay in crowded places if you go out." That night, Leo came to bed late, pulling me into his arms. "I'm sorry," he whispered softly. I buried my face in his chest, sleepy and muffled. "It's not your fault." "No, it was that transmigrator, obsessed with a married man." Saturday arrived, and it was time for my first prenatal checkup. While Leo paid at the counter, I waited quietly off to the side. Suddenly, a small figure, a kid in a hoodie and face mask, rushed straight at me. I leapt aside just in time. The boy sprinted past and disappeared into the crowd. My heart raced. That child had been aiming for my stomach. It was terrifying. But then a thought struck me. If our enemy had to rely on such clumsy, low-tech methods, her system must be weak. A small relief. Leo returned, noticing my pale face. "Are you okay?" I shook my head, recounting what happened. His jaw clenched, veins standing out on his fists. I grabbed his sleeve. "Let's just finish the appointment and get out." He inhaled deeply, forcing himself to calm down. "Okay." The checkup revealed I was slightly anemic, but otherwise healthy. On the way home, we discussed future appointments when our son's voice piped up. "Mom, Grandpa Yama says I'll be born healthy and strong. These appointments aren't really necessary." I looked at Leo. Maybe we don't need so many checkups. He shut that idea down immediately, firm and non-negotiable. I wished our son could speak to him too. It would make him understand the little voice guiding us. That afternoon, the discreet security cameras Leo had ordered arrived. He installed one outside the front door and another in the living room. The next day, our neighbor approached again, this time under the excuse of borrowing some salt. He introduced himself as Ryan, a college senior doing an internship nearby. That night, I told Leo everything. He reviewed the surveillance footage, captured a clear screenshot of Ryan, and sent it to a private investigator using a separate, untraceable phone. As we lay in bed, Leo's hand instinctively rested on my belly, his voice thick with guilt. "Mia, I'm so sorry. You don't need to apologize. None of this is your fault. Mom's totally blaming him. I thought, if that transmigrator hadn't latched onto him, none of this would be happening." Suddenly, Leo's hand trembled on my stomach. His voice was a shaky whisper. "Mia, did you just hear that?" I looked at him, surprised. "You heard it too?" He sat upright, flicking on the lamp, his face pale with disbelief. "You've heard it before? What, is it some kind of demon?" I placed his hand back on my belly. "Would you believe me if I told you it's our son?" Our son piped up indignantly. "You're the demon. Your whole fam, wait, no. Only you are the demon." Leo's eyes widened. He opened and closed his mouth, unable to find words. "Humph. I was a war hero in my past life, and he calls me a demon. Even if you are my dad, I'm not forgiving you easily." Leo eventually let out a shaky sigh once our son's voice quieted. I patted his arm reassuringly. "Don't worry. Kids don't hold grudges. We'll bribe him with toys and snacks later." Leo shook his head. "I'm not worried about that. He can have the biggest temper, he's still my son." "But what did he mean by transmigrator?" I explained everything. He listened, brow furrowed in thought. "Am I really some important character in this world?" he wondered aloud. I teased him. "Maybe. You could be the male lead. That would explain her obsession." He paused, then pulled me into his arms. "By that logic, you must be my female lead. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so jealous of you." I laughed. "Haha, that's probably it." The private investigator Leo hired worked quickly. He discovered that all of Ryan's personal details were fake. Following his connections, we identified a woman we suspected as the transmigrator, Ava. 6 months ago, Ava had suffered a severe car accident. She shouldn't have survived, yet she made a miraculous recovery. Leo knew her from a diner near one of his old construction sites, where she occasionally helped out. On the day he'd passed out drunk and someone else had answered my call, Ava had been at the diner. Everything clicked. According to Leo, she had always kept a polite, professional distance around him. Her strategy was clear. Wait until he was single to make her move. With a target identified, the panic finally eased. We weren't prey anymore. We were hunters. Ryan continued his attempts to approach me, but following Leo's plan, I kept him at arm's length, giving just enough encouragement to keep him hopeful without letting him cross the line. His frustration grew, though he dared not overstep. The worst part? He seemed genuinely attracted to me, constantly dropping lewd hints. We stayed cautious during prenatal appointments, visiting on different days with different doctors. Only at the last appointment before my due date did we settle on the delivery doctor, and even then, we went to a completely different hospital for the birth. Our son arrived healthy and strong. The day we were discharged, as Leo carried me and our baby toward the car, a vehicle suddenly swerved at us. Instinctively, Leo dropped our bags, shielded me, and yanked us out of harm's way. The driver claimed it was an accident, but Leo calmly called the police, providing all the evidence gathered by the investigator. The man quickly confessed, leading the authorities straight to Ava. When arrested, Ava raved about being a transmigrator, insisting she had a system and was the true main character. She wasn't insane, but the court sentenced her to life in prison. Before our son's birth, he was given the water of oblivion, arriving with no memory of his past life or our secret conversations. By the time he was 3, Leo had cleared all his old debts. At 5, he launched a second company in tech, and within a decade, he became a leader in the field. I, too, started my own new media company with Leo's support, achieving considerable success. I thought to myself, smiling quietly, this is what it feels like to truly be the main characters of our own story.